Hello everyone. Today we have this wonderful opportunity to speak to Miss Anuradha Mishra. Hello everyone. Today we have this wonderful opportunity to speak to Miss Anuradha Mishra. She has secured rank 3 in the Forest Services examination. We're so proud and so happy for you. Hello, welcome.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much.
First of all, congratulations from all of us.
Thank you.
Right, I'm sure your family and you are all thrilled, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you got the result. What is the feeling like? What was your first reaction?
Ma'am, it was a very pleasant experience for me because I have been trying for the Indian Forest Service for the last 5 years.
Oh.
So it was a really good moment for me when I saw the results.
Lovely, isn't it? That eventually, finally, it does happen. Great. So tell me a little bit about your background, your education, your family, things like that.
Ma'am, I belong to Dhanbad. I've done my schooling class 10th and 12th from there itself. Then I have done my BTech in Computer Science Engineering from BITS Pilani. And after that, I worked in Samsung for 2 years. And then I started preparing for civil services and Indian Forest Service. And talking about my family background, my father is a doctor. He retired as a chief medical officer in BCCL. And my mother is a homemaker.
Right. So how did you decide to switch from engineering towards civil services?
Ma'am, when I was working in Samsung Research Institute, I wanted to get more opportunities, a more challenging job, and I wanted a level of excellence in my career. So I thought I'll prepare for civil services and also for forest service.
Which is great, है ना? अच्छा, तो we hear this thing कि ना these days students start preparing right from college. Second year में, third year में they start preparing. But for you, काफी बाद में you decided.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your take on this whole shift? कि when should people get into the preparation stage?
Ma'am, if students are sure enough that they want to get into civil services, I think second year or third year is a good option to start with. So that is okay. That is in fact a good choice.
And on the other hand, कुछ लोग ये भी टेंशन लेते हैं कि बड़ा लेट हो गया है मैम, है ना, कि अब तो जॉब में है, हो पाएगा नहीं हो पाएगा, all those things. What about that on the other side?
Ma'am, I think if people have experience of any job, I think that serves as a backup plan.
True. So
it's okay if somebody wants to try for civil services, they can leave their job or even they can prepare side by side if they are not sure enough of leaving that job.
That's true. Okay. Prelims is becoming more and more competitive, people keep saying. So what are the books that one should read? Pehle, let's figure that out.
Okay, so ma'am, I followed a set of basic books like Lakshmikant for polity, then Spectrum for modern history. Then I followed standard books for environment and economy, which are available in the market. So I followed only these basic books, nothing hi-fi books.
You know, मतलब basic content books. ऐसा there's no magic book जिसको पढ़ने से pre निकलता है.
Nothing like that, nothing like that.
अच्छा, but then studying is one thing.
Yes,
how do you practice for the pre?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, for practicing, I relied on two things. First was previous year questions and the second was mock tests. So like previous year questions, I prepared in very detailed. I solved around 25 years previous year questions for prelims examination.
So effort udhar hai.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Second thing is solving mock tests. So I remember that in 2018 attempt when I was not able to clear the prelims exam. So for 19 attempt I solved around 90 mock tests.
Oh. So but then is there a sweet spot? Does it get over sometimes कि ज़्यादा ही practice कर लिया कि नहीं जितना करो उतना कम है?
Ma'am, since I had one whole year 2018 to 19, so I thought I should leave no stone unturned. So I solved around 90 tests for prelims.
And once it clicks, it sort of clicks, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And also CSAT, people are feeling that CSAT is also very difficult these days.
Ma'am, in CSAT, I never had problem in qualifying it. But still, every time I practiced 5 to 6 tests for CSAT.
So this makes me really happy, that there are people who have that ability in math, especially for girls. We keep talking about girls in STEM and stuff, right? So it's good.
Yes,
Ma'am, I'm
ma'am.
strong in math. Let it be that way, isn't it?
Yes,
Acha. Let's get to the mains exam also. So in the forest exam, right, we have 4 papers.
Yes, ma'am.
And English is counted. So how do you prepare for English?
Ma'am, I solved last 5-year questions for English paper, and things like grammar and précis writing, all these they were very helpful when I solved the previous year questions, and they were quite fruitful for me.
Is there some sort of repetition in these questions, or you have a predictability of the type and nature?
No, ma'am. Repetition is there. 2-3 questions they can be traced back to the previous year questions. So I did this.
But any books or just this?
No, ma'am. No book I followed. I just followed previous year questions.
All right. And then this GS paper, general knowledge paper for forest, which is basically everything under the sun, right? So how do you prepare for everything at the same time?
Ma'am, there are 2-3 topics like polity, economy or history. So they are overlapping with the civils preparation.
Yes.
So for these topics, I relied on the books that I followed for civils.
Same as prelims?
No.
Different books?
Yes, ma'am, different books, value-added materials, I followed them for mains examination year. And there are few topics which are extra in forest ka general knowledge. Like there is a good amount of weightage of science and technology.
Yes.
So I prepared, there are specific materials for mains preparation for science and technology. So I followed that.
And these materials are widely available, right? The
Yes,
popular
ma'am,
ones.
they are widely available.
Nothing secret, nothing,
No, nothing like
that we have to go look for.
No. Nothing.
All right. Acha. So then forest services also asks you to have 2 optionals. How do you select optionals and how do you prepare? It's 4 extra papers.
Generally, one subject is sorted because people go for forestry usually. So one subject people take forestry, and second, usually people take geology.
Yes.
But some of my seniors suggested me to take agriculture engineering because it has good amount of numericals in that, and I was comfortable enough in numericals. So I went for agriculture engineering because of that.
So would you care to sort of question why is it that people prefer certain subjects? Why is it that forestry le lena chahiye type of thing? I mean, it's easy, it has, intersection with the job, or maybe...
Yes, ma'am. First reason is
short?
that it has intersection with the job. Then many questions in the interview, they are asked from forestry itself.
Irrespective of whatever option
Yes,
you have?
ma'am. So that gives an advantage to forestry students. And then, yes, there is a general interest that since we are preparing for Indian Forest Service, so forestry is something that we should know.
Makes sense.
Yes,
of
ma'am.
course. So again, these are the sort of things that students tend to question. Ki acha lena hai to why should we pick this topic? Isn't it? So it's that. Acha. So that's for the subjects. And as for answer writing, because as far as I understand, studying the subject and writing the answers and then writing the answers in exam situation are 3 different skill sets.
Yes,
What's your take on that?
And for writing answer, firstly, we should be thorough with the theory. Whatever standard books we are reading, we should be knowing them in great detail. Secondly, we go for time management and value addition, and that can be done through test series. So if we practice any test series or any PYQs for that matter, so it gives us a chance to make our answers better every time we write. So there is a scope of inclusion of diagrams in that, and in forestry it is very helpful for diagrams. So I think these are the pillars that one should follow while doing preparation for forestry.
And then apart from these things, for mains, is there a specific type of notes or some sort of jot down, or what is it that people should do? Or what did you do? Forget what people should do, but what did you do?
Ma'am, I never made notes because I'm very poor in notes making. I end up writing everything, whatever is given in the material. So I highlighted the main points in material itself, and a few things which I know that I have to mug up like the scientific name or the technical names of trees in forests. So I made 2-page notes for that. Only that's it.
Just to mug up. It is remarkable, your honesty. Ma'am, I'm just terrible in making notes. I might as well not.
Yes,
because
actually.
whenever people try to prepare, they try to invent a new personality. I've never made notes in my life, but for this exam I will. But when you've not done something, you're not going to be
it's
great.
It's very difficult actually.
Makes sense. Okay. People tend to make digital notes and paper notes. You're from tech, research tech per se. So what is your preference in that regard?
Yes, ma'am. Digital notes have an advantage that they can be modified. And like I said, people like me who end up writing more than what is required. Yes. So that can be deleted quickly and later at some stage when you realize you don't need them. So that is the advantage of digital notes.
But which one did you prefer? Digital or paper?
Ma'am, since I had prepared only 2-3 page notes, so it was on paper only.
Paper only. Okay, so it's to each their own. Okay. Now for your answer writing style. Oftentimes the question becomes, okay, I'm writing an answer, but what does an ideal look like? So towards the end of your preparation, what did your answers look like? What is it that we should do to get better scores?
Ma'am, in both my optionals of forestry and agri-engineering, I wrote previous year questions multiple times till I gained perfection in them. And like you're asking how an ideal answer should look like.
What is your perfection look like? Sure.
Yeah, so it should be very technical in nature. The introduction should be very technical. It should have diagrams. It should have flow charts. So that makes an answer very impressive. So this was my strategy for writing the answers.
For optionals and for GS, similar things, but of course not that technical.
GS, see, for polity, economy or history, like we do in civils, we do it here also. We write a good introduction, then write the answer in points, and the scope of diagram or map of India, wherever it is required, we can add that.
That helps, right?
Yes.
Because again, it's all about getting a good score,
yes,
right? And a good rank. All right. In the last 2-3 weeks before the examination, there are a lot of videos, a day in the life of, right? So what is a day in the life of mains preparation right before the exam for you?
Ma'am, I used to study for like 10 hours before exam, and my main focus was on revising things. I stopped writing answers and just I focused on revisions.
Right. And like a couple of months before the examination, how much were you writing?
I was writing answers daily, like 5 to 10 answers I was writing on a daily basis.
That's when you tend to give up right before the examination. You have to stop then, but before though. Acha. And as for pre, what is a day in the life of preparation of prelims?
I'm just before examination.
Both, sure.
So yes, for prelims, I used to solve the tests on a weekly basis. So every week I solved 1 or 2 mock tests and then I used to analyze them. And the usual routine for study that followed every day.
Okay. Let's get to the interview stage. How does one prepare for the interview? What should we do?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I struggled a lot to prepare for the interview.
The irony is not lost on me.
Because in my first Indian Forest Service interview, I got only 153 marks. And I increased that gradually to 205 marks this year. So there are certain things that I would like to share that worked for me. First is preparing the DAF in detail. So each and every word in DAF, I prepared a lot. I predicted around 20 to 25 questions from each word which can be asked. For example, in my DAF, it was written BCCL, Bharat Coking Coal Limited. My father worked there. So for coal, I prepared around 50 questions.
About coal itself?
Yeah, a very probable topic, and especially for Forest Service.
Makes sense.
So I prepared that in a lot of detail. And apart from that, this time I tried to maneuver my interview.
Oh.
Because I heard experiences of students saying that I mentioned this word in my interview, and the whole interview it was
sidelined to that
word. It was sidelined to that particular word. So I mentioned specific keywords of forest like thinning operations or silviculture system. So particular words I used in my interview so that they ask questions to me.
Oh, that's smart, isn't it? Good. So the solution to getting good marks is a lot of preparation and planning, isn't it? Acha, so all of this notwithstanding, of course, in hindsight, success is great. But this has happened to you, if I'm not wrong, in the 5th attempt.
Yes.
Right? So how do we get over failure? I'm sure it gets difficult.
Yes, ma'am.
And that too when you're leaving your job for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that part of the journey, which is not that glamorous.
Yes, ma'am. Failures are very difficult to deal with. But I think I was lucky enough because there were many factors which favored me throughout my journey, like my parents. So they were very supportive throughout. In fact, in a few attempts, I wanted to quit, but my parents had a lot of faith in me and they constantly motivated me. And ma'am, secondly, I was missing very closely in the examination. So that was also a moving force for me, that since I am missing very marginally, so maybe in the next attempt I will be through. So this was the positive thing for me which worked.
Right. In terms of mentorship or support system outside of your family,
Yes, ma'am.
who did you take help from?
Ma'am, I took mentorship support from ForumIAS, and I think Ayush sir was very helpful in that. And he also constantly motivated me for not giving up. And after every failed attempt when I visited him, so he was very motivating and he was kind enough to, to mentor me for everything, for mains, interview, everything.
Makes sense. Well, that's lovely. It is always great to see someone succeed, despite however long it might take. We start our preparation with some pen, but towards the end, it becomes the pen, isn't it? So, which is the pen that you write your papers with, especially when you have to write so much constantly?
Ma'am, I used a Trimax pen because many students use that, and it was a suggestion to me that you should be using it for paper completion, because every time I had problem in completing the papers in mains. So I think that pen was useful for me.
So, it's a thing, right? That you have to find a pen that works for you. It's the only instrument, the only weapon that you have in the exam apart from your brains. Sure. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions. It was a pleasure to meet you, a pleasure to speak to you. Any messages that you have for the students that you want to tell them?
Yes. Okay, so I would say that just rely on basic books, then keep practicing, and do not get into any sort of negativity, and always stay positive. Whatever gives you motivation, whatever gives you positive support, stick to that. So that's my message for students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for seeing us.
Thank you, ma'am.